I don't want to think of her in that dress. We all saw what happened to her. What's a dress matter when it 100% has to be a closed casket funeral? Today on the Comic Book Report, The Mammoth from Mad Cave Studios. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I'm jumping into the world of Mad Cave Comics over here. I'm not sure which of these reviews I'm going to drop first, but Mad Cave was kind enough to send over a haul or a comic book box for me, so I am making my way through a bunch of different Mad Cave titles, so you'll see them sprinkled in throughout this channel across the coming weeks and months. I'll admit I was sold immediately on this book based on the cover art alone. I knew next to nothing about it, and I came to find out it's quite a little bit of a horror title. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, let's go ahead and dive in. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Paul Tobin and penciled by Arjuna Susini. The issues in this collection were published by Mad Cave Studios beginning in 2024. As far as what this volume collects, it includes The Mammoth, issues 1 through 5. And finally, this is a standard size trade paperback collection with nice glossy print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 128 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. I'll also note that there is a bit of a mature content warning. There are brief instances of sexuality, nudity in this comic, along with scenes of violence and profanity. Again, you've been advised. Okay, and here's our first dedicated look at the front cover of today's trade paperback collection from Mad Cave. Again, this is the image that sold me on the book. I knew next to nothing about it, but seeing these little groups of travelers walking through a wooded area with an interesting kind of smoke creature behind them, I was just instantly sold. Again, I knew nothing about the premise, but I put it on my would-be interested list just because of this cover art alone. Suffice it to say, I'm a huge fan of this cover. On the spine, we have some beautiful colors. The font choices remain the same, which I love to see. We have the publisher, a little image, the mammoth, and then all the creators. Pretty straightforward stuff for the spine here. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but again, I love that they retain the font styles from the cover for a lot of the text, and I think the color choice is really amazing. And across the back, we have more forested areas, a brief glimmer of maybe the creature. We have that font again in the title, The Mammoth, and then a bit of a blurb about the book. Again, publisher, pricing information, all the good things on the back. Again, this is pretty straightforward. I do love the art we get. There's no character models really here on the back for the most part, but still looks really good. It's absolutely immersive, sets the tone, and overall, I really do like the cover design for this paperback. And now for all you prospective collectors out there, let's go ahead and take a look at this book's binding. As I mentioned, it is a standard glued binding here. I will say the gutter loss really did appear to be minimal on this collection for me. I really had no problems making my way through it. Everything laid down quite nicely, and overall, again, 2 thumbs up for this binding. Okay, now that we've checked that out, we can go ahead and dive into the collection proper. As we make our way into the collection, we do have a great title page, kind of a 2-page spread that has the creator breakdown and everything like that, publication information, and then I really do like we have these kind of interstitial issue kind of notes that show the chapter number before the actual covers of the issues. I really like this because we still have the covers maintained, but we also have essentially chapter breaks. I thought it was a nice stylized kind of choice for a collected edition like this. Overall, 2 thumbs up on that. But anyway, after that, we jump right into the collection for the Mammoth. And before we go really that much further, I should set it up. Again, I knew next to nothing about this title before getting the copy of this, but in case you're wondering, this is a standalone series, so it is a one-and-done kind of graphic novel. It includes all 5 issues of the series, and you do have a full and complete story here within the pages of this single volume. To give a shape or plot synopsis for The Mammoth, it really is a story about a young group of people, maybe in their 30s, give or take, and we basically have them sort of investigating happenings in this small town. Well, we have one of them involved in some kind of horrific earthquake or seismic event, and she sees something looming, something mammoth. Unfortunately, she dies in a fall as a result of this encounter and this earthquake, and the rest of that crew, so it's basically a group of 3 friends, basically help identify her, are questioned by the local police, and they're basically in a grieving process. We find out that one of them was actually in a secret romantic relationship with her, so there is that added layer of grief on top of it all for that main character, and the 3 of them basically have to sift through what happened, what's going on, and is there a deeper mystery here. All of them are reluctant to believe it. However, when one of them sees her former paramour appearing to be risen from the dead as maybe a kind of zombie, not zombie figure, she is forced to reevaluate a lot of her core beliefs. She brings in the other 2 on what's happening. They all see their departed friend now kind of resurrected. Again, she's not quite right. She's bloodied, not making a lot of sense. And from here, they have a lot of strange encounters with these other zombie-like figures. Now, the rest of them do feel more zombified, and they all answer, or rather pose the same question, with basically asking, do you know the way? Can you help me find the way? Everyone sort of says these things in unison, and it's really eerie. There's something about these zombies that in many ways feel more ghost-like as far as how they show up and what they do. The whole book, it really has them show up and basically ask if they know the way, and they have their one kind of loosely resurrected friend that seems to be guiding them towards some direction. They ultimately go on a quest to find out where she may be leading them. Along the way, again, they have these kind of interesting zombie encounters. We have a lot of flashbacks for the central character, remembering different stages of her relationship with this departed friend. And again, along the way, they have different little conflict points. They get held at gunpoint at one point. They have corrupt law enforcement that may or may not know about this situation. And there's also this looming threat of this kind of weird, mythical, massive creature that's known as the Mammoth. This is kind of a loose kind of figure throughout. It's only hinted at sort of at the beginnings and then revealed at the end of the series. But basically, this story is again kind of an exodus of this group of characters. As they find these twists and turns, they find that their departed friend seems to know the way, and really it's suggested that she's going to help them all move on to the next stage or kind of realm of existence. This mammoth smoke-like figure also might be pulling the strings or involved in all these supernatural happenings. Maybe that's the one that really needs to find the way. Anyway, ultimately it culminates with this group of 4 leading their one departed friend and all the zombies to this mammoth, and ultimately to having them ushered into the next phase of existence. Before she leaves, however, the departed friend looks at our main central character and essentially says, "I'll see you soon," which is kind of an ominous and foreboding last words to share, and then everyone is gone as if it never happened. That's really overall the synopsis of The Mammoth. It is an eerie tale that is moody, atmospheric, and strikes a lot of emotional chords. I think in many ways the tone of this work and the art are my favorite aspects of it. Short of that, the characters are engaging and interesting, even if the central relationship didn't necessarily have me fully engaged. I did like the interplay between these groups of strained and stressed friends and how they navigated grief, especially since that grief in person was kind of embodied throughout their journey. Again, an interesting wrinkle here. The 5 issues, I think overall were really well paced. The dialogue was sharp overall. I think the flashback sequences didn't really resonate for me, I think, as much as they were intended to, and perhaps that was just to my reading. I think that those could have been a little bit stronger for me, but overall it was an interesting journey, and I do think that it had a good and satisfying payoff. I do like that this whole series could be kind of done as a one and done, and I do think if you're looking for kind of an eerie backwood tale that is light on zombie and still feels kind of spectral and interesting and atmospheric, this might be something worth pursuing. And while it didn't hit on every level for me, I did enjoy, like I said, the artwork. I think that how the creators played with tone and atmosphere and immersion was really effective and well done. I love the design of this paperwork as well. Like I mentioned earlier, the binding is really solid, very little gutter loss, even for a glued binding paperback of this kind. I love that we kind of had the virgin covers presented as well. I love that they included the page of chapter breaks. I think that that was just a really nice feature that made this feel more like a curated collection that was really kind of lovingly put together. And while the work overall didn't strike for me in a really profound way, I do think that this read could still be a hidden gem for some. I think some will really prefer this to myself. It wasn't just quite my flavor. I'm not saying it's a fundamentally flawed work, but again, just not quite to my taste. And while we're looking at it, the monster design as well is also really well done. I really liked the mammoth creature. I wish we got a little bit more there, but I like that there is still a lot of unanswered questions in the best ways. Anyway, after the main issues, we do have a small portion of extras at the back of this collection, mostly in the form of a cover art gallery. After which we do have a bit of a solicit page for other Mad Cave titles, a little end page, and that's really the end of our trade paperback collection. And that has been The Mammoth from Mad Cave Studios. Again, this is one of the first Mad Cave titles I've ever read, and it was definitely something. All that's left to do now is to give this book a grade. Moody, atmospheric, compelling, and interesting, even if every bit of it didn't quite land for me, the Comic Book Report is going to be giving The Mammoth from Mad Cave Studios a C. I think this is really just an average read for me. I think there's a lot of ingredients here that should have struck a little bit harder, but it just wasn't quite to my flavoring. I had a hard time engaging with the central character, especially in the flashback sequences, which I think were meant to be the emotional heart of the piece, but perhaps other readers would have a different experience. I do think the art was a standout, and like I said, the use of tone and pacing I think was all really well done. I thought the overall concept and plot was novel, and the creature design was a lot of fun. I will say I had no idea what to expect here, and I felt like the twists and turns and overall the journey was well executed, and I liked being kind of at the edge of my seat. But that's really just my thoughts on The Mammoth from Mad Cave. Let me know what yours are. Have you read this title? Does this seem like something you'd be interested in? Have you read other works from Mad Cave Studios? I would definitely be interested in hearing your thoughts on all of those questions in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching, and again, a huge thank you to Mad Cave Studios for sending this review copy in exchange for this honest review. And until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, comment, and maybe check out another video on your way out. Thanks everyone, have a good one.